After a thrilling duel number one that saw several drivers go home empty-handed and a few more celebrating as they made the 500 through their duel, we bring you the attention now to the second lineup of duel number two, where 26 drivers lay claim to the Daytona International Speedway for 30 more laps, and a few of them will race their way into the 500, and a few more will go home empty-handed at the end of the 30 laps of this race. Alongside me in the booth once again is James Ellison. After seeing what happened in duel number one, what are you expecting out of this one?
A lot of the same thing. These drivers were watching that duel, and they got some ideas on what to do this time around for them. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this slightly smaller list of go-homers can do, but at the same time, I expect they'll fight tooth and nail, just like we saw in Duel 1.
And we've got a lot of heavy hitters in this duel as well. We can give you the full starting lineup now. Justin Hutchinson, who qualified second last Sunday, he's got the second spot in the 500 locked down. He like Eric Monaco in the first duel, just needs to bring it home in one piece. If he can do that, he'll start alongside the 86 for the Daytona 500 next Sunday. Jeffrey Finguy's in this duel. He starts second. Miles Mashburn, the championship runner-up last year, he starts fifth. And we've got a lot of drivers trying to race their way in. Jonathan Lawson's in on speed, but he'd love to race his way in. Aguo Zhao for Blackjack Motorsports, trying to post an upset and race their way in. Allison Leara for Jeff Bolton Racing. Juan Diaz for the One Tempian Motorsports Chevrolet in this race. And a lot of big teams got drivers in this one. Austin Holloman and Chris Lattimore, two good drivers for good teams, are at risk of missing the Daytona 500. So there's a lot to focus on for this one. But who's got your eye for this duel? Because there's a lot of heavy hitters that I didn't even mention.
Oh, I'm looking at likes of Nick Ortiz back in 18th, J.D. Martin 20th, Bolton 22nd, Lane Sanders. Boy, he's had a rough time last year especially, and then he would love nothing more than to do the last to front challenge. Even if he doesn't win, he just wants to have a much better starting spot going into the 500.
And with Daytona International Speedway looming ahead, anything is possible. We've seen that happen before. So with that being said, all the cars are lined up on the grid, and we're ready to bring you 30 more laps of duel racing from Daytona International Speedway. This is the 1UP Superstar Series Daytona 500 Duels, and the green flag is mere moments away. Coming to get 30 more laps of racing underway, Justin Hutchinson and Jeffrey Finguy on row number one. The green flag is down and out, and we're underway for 30 more laps. Jeffrey Finguy actually gets the better launch off the line. Hutchinson's got to be careful here. She's got to make something happen quick, or else he'll risk losing the lead to the 92.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and it's going to take me a little bit to get used to that 10 being a little bit different colors, but colors don't matter when you got a strong motor under the hood to take the lead, just like Hutchinson's doing right now.
And how about Miles Mashburn making it 3 wide at the start? He jumped underneath Emma Carter. Now he's the one pushing this 10 car of Hutchinson out to the lead. As Cale Tescar Jr., if you're back, drops down into the bottom groove to try and help Austin Holloman towards the front. Coming through 3 and 4 to complete lap number 1, Hutchinson looks like he's going to easily lead the first lap, something Eric Monaco could not do in his duel race.
No, that was not something Monaco could do, but at the same time, there's a lot of racing left to do, as I just couldn't help but watch Emma Carter push Roberto Crown Jr. out of the way.
And these two are fellow Toyota drivers, but not for the same team or the same alliance, so they have no bones to pick with each other. As through the middle comes our shootout winner, Stephen Gale, through the middle trying to take advantage of Crown's misfortune. He's going to get a push from Carter's teammate Aaron Hall in the 07.
Yeah, that run didn't quite work out, though. He's not going away, but he will tuck back in line, as right now they're still side-by-side. I don't think we had this side-by-side. I can't remember exactly. We had side-by-side in the first duel in the first couple laps.
Absolutely. These guys are going all out for this race win and this transfer spots. Everything's on the line for the Daytona 500 duels, as Mashburn now gets pushed up to the middle, with Daniel Bouchard trying to forge his way to the front with help from Devin Fair. Right now, the top transfer spot goes to that black and green 56 of Guo Zhao, the Chinese driver trying to make the Daytona 500 for his superstar debut.
What a big deal that would be for Zhao to get in right now. Perfect opportunity, but there's still we're still early on, and we're getting excited. We don't want to get too excited for him yet.
And while we were talking about him, we didn't even notice Jeffrey Finguy takes over the race lead from Hutchinson with a push from Emma Carter. The 92 leads at the line. Again, something his teammate Dylan Young could not manage in his duel race. So, we've got a lot faster speeds in this duel as well compared to the first. The track's cooled off a little bit. There's a lot more grip, and these cars are taking full advantage.
You talk about that grip. More rubber's been laid down, and they're all determined right now. We're seeing the same thing we saw in the first duel so far. Everybody's staying in the draft. Nobody's fallen out just yet. And I wouldn't rule out the same scenario we had last time.
But for the most part, these cars are staying 2 by 2. We didn't see this in the first duel. In the first duel, we saw 3 wide throughout the entire field. They're not willing to do that quite yet. As we look at Devin Fair with a quick lap of 45.38. That is that is almost a second faster than we saw anybody run in duel number 1. You see Devin Fair in that red and white car on the inside, right behind Daniel Bouchard, trying to give the 73 a push. But it is still Finguy out in the lead, with Carter and Hutchinson battling for the second spot. Zhao is still in the lead transfer spot, but as for the rest, it's still a crapshoot.
Yeah, this is definitely really, really interesting to see it. You were talking about how they were only 2 wide. I see 3 wide back there now. They finally realized it's just a 30-lap dash. They've really got to get focused, especially the go or go homers.
And this is only half the length of the Daytona 500 next Sunday. They'll have to race a 60-lapper on that occasion. But right now, it is Jeffrey Finguy out in the lead of this race. He has shown his stuff before. He won 4 times last year, but everybody's starting with a clean slate this time around, and he's doing whatever he can to hold off the rest of the pack, because it looks like the 27 of Cam Cole might be starting to lose the pack a little bit, and that could be disastrous for his 500 bid.
Yeah, that would be very unfortunate, but I said it at least once in the first duel. Nature of the beast. He's still hanging on there, and it looks like Lane Sanders is starting to lose it a little bit too, though.
Yeah, but it looks like he's hooked onto it back of his, well, I wouldn't say his friend, but I'd say co-opetitioners. Zachary Fitzwater's back there as well to give his fellow Dodge a helping hand. But back at the front, it is Jeffrey Finguy continuing to lead this race. Hutchinson still lurking in second. He's got a fast car. He showed it last week, but is it going to be enough to work in the draft? He's got Bouchard pushing. That's a pretty good partner to work with. He's just got to get the run through the corner to get around this 92, and so far it hasn't materialized.
Yeah, so far it's looking like Finguy's pulling what Brock pulled in the first duel, just going back and forth, keeping everybody at bay. It's only going to work for so long, though.
But Finguy doing a good job. This is exactly what William Brock did in duel number 1. He's doing a good job holding out the pack, which is starting to get a little more frantic now, as Cale Tescar Jr. is starting to slice his way through the field. He just gets underneath Bobo Jones in the 7 to make that a 3-wide battle. Right behind the 56 of Zhao, who's just begging for dear life, just stay in that transfer spot, because the next highest transfer driver is Jonathan Lawson, about a row and a half behind him on the outside lane.
Yeah, he just wants to stay right there, but we know how things like this work. You don't always get what you wish for. But he's trying his hardest.
He's doing whatever he can. This is a very talented super speedway driver. He showed this in the Turbo Truck Series last year. He'll be back in the Truck Series this year with Express Motorsports. Yes, that I sometimes get it scrambled because this is a new season, and Zhao was one of those drivers ride hopping, so it's understandable we get it mixed up sometimes. But at the front of the field, Jeffrey Finguy continues to lead. His lead, about a tenth of a second, over Hutchinson and Carter. Carter starting to stretch her legs out front, trying to get by Hutchinson for the second position. Carter's got to get some help, though. You got Mashburn back there, Roberto Cron Jr., and Stephen Gale. A lot of good cars, but they got to get they get lined up on the top.
That's not an easy thing to do, especially especially if you look at it based on manufacturer loyalty. For a while there, it was Carter, Crown, and Gale, 3 Toyotas, and now you got the Chevy of Mashburn.
And don't forget the
So,
Toyota of Hall back there as well, the 07.
yeah, that you got all those Toyotas up there, and you got the one Chevy right in the middle of them. That I wouldn't say that'd be the entire reason why things aren't working, but if you look at manufacturer loyalty, it could be a factor.
Certainly could be the reason they're not gaining much ground, but Carter's got a lot of speed in that 70. And I feel this could be a good run for Emma Carter. She didn't have a great season last year, finished out of the playoffs. This would be a great way to get the season off right with a dual win, but she's got to get around Jeffrey Finguy first, and no one's been able to do that so far. But granted, we still have 20 laps to go, but in this style of racing, you need every run you can get to stick.
Yeah, as it looks like you see Bouchard there, he keeps peeking on Hutchinson, and I can't help but see Fair peeking on him as well. It's a lot like what we saw in Duel 1. Drivers picking on the inside of each other as they were peeking inside of someone ahead of them. It's just the nature of the racing that we're seeing here.
Absolutely, and we haven't mentioned the transfer spot yet, but it is a very intense battle. You got Zhao clearly out in front of that battle, but for the rest of the spots, it is intense. You got Jonathan Lawson, Austin Holloman, and Juan Diaz in the 47, the Cuban driver, trying to make the Daytona 500. He posted a very good lap. Last week, it wasn't good enough to make the race on speed, though. He's got to race his way in, and that's a daunting task for someone who's never raced on an oval before.
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge, but he certainly seems up to it, and right now, it seems like they've gone back to mostly double file here, as they're still all just not able to do anything with Finguy.
And Diaz, I noticed, moved up to the top of the racetrack, give a push to the 16 of Lawson. Now it is Zhao, Lawson, and Holloman in the transfer spots. Chris Lattimore's lurking back there in the 13. He wants to join his two teammates in the Daytona 500. He's pushing that black and gold car of Nick Ortiz in the 91, and getting a push from the White Castle Chevy of Jason Parker. Parker made every race last year, but he might miss this one. It's going to be a very close battle between these guys, as Holloman fights with Diaz for that final transfer spot right now, give the advantage to the 47.
As right now I see Aaron Hall, they're getting shuffled back a bit as in the midst of all this, but still hanging tough as we got a lot of jockeying for position, or at least attempts at it.
Yeah, you see a tandem forming, Bobo Jones and Cale Tescar Jr. trying to work together in the draft. As they come off turn 4, look at this pack. They're still all together. I was worried earlier about Cam Cole losing the lead draft. He has not lost it. He has stayed right there in the midst of it, albeit in last place. He's got to work hard in the second half of this duel to try and make his way towards at least a transfer spot, if not the front. But there's still plenty of racing to go. Still over halfway to go. But here's Holloman. He needs to race his way in, and right now he's battling Diaz for it.
Yeah, like you said, this is an intense battle, and these fans have got to be loving it, no matter if they understand who they're rooting for or not. And right now, got the 56 going in the middle. Hopefully, that's not a bad sign.
The thing about Zhao moving up to the middle, he's got his main competition directly behind him. That can only help. With Lawson now behind Zhao, that reduces the risk of the 16 making a pass on the 56 to take him out of the lead transfer spot. So Zhao's in good shape right now if he can keep that 16 behind him. But if that inside line starts moving, Holloman could make a move and pass both of them. That could make things interesting.
Certainly can. As for a little while, they were 3 wide for third, but that smelled out some. But still plenty of 3 wide action here as we're approaching the completion of the halfway mark.
100%. These cars are going flat out in their bid for victory. That average speed of over 195 miles an hour as Emma Carter makes a move on Jeffrey Finguy. We haven't seen this all night long. Carter gets underneath the 92 for the lead with a push from Justin Hutchinson. Will she lead at the halfway lap? The answer is yes, but only barely.
And she did it, and she finally cleared the high lane, and now she's the one going for it. And if Hutchinson can give her the push, she's got the lead. But
Finguy now he still has Daniel Bouchard back there, just lurking. working with him for now. And then in the third row on the top is that 56 of Aguo Zhao. He's driving like a complete veteran on the super speedways, even though this is his superstar debut.
Yeah, this is an impressive run for him. If he somehow misses this race, we'll still know he was here, but I would be shocked if this run results in a DNQ out of him.
And remember, Blackjack Motorsports, this is a brand new race team. They didn't attempt at all last year. They have no points to their name, only a handful of employees working on this team. Team run by Nitro National driver Thane Snyder. They're making a run at it to try and make the Daytona 500. As Hutchinson goes to the inside, trying to take the lead from Carter. They're 3 wide for the lead down the back straightaway.
We almost saw this in Duel 1, but now we see it in Duel 2.
Oh, is Fair going to make it 4 wide? Is he going to try and make it 4 wide? He is! 4 wide for the lead at the Daytona.
What a madman. It looks like they settled out. His Finn guy was just like, okay, enough of this. I'm out of here.
So Finn guy backs off to the second row, and so does Devin Fair to make it a 3 wide battle. Carter and Hutchinson, though, still battle it out for the top spot. And Aguo Zhao still in that top 5. This is an amazing run for a team who's never made a start before. Again, you're right. I would be surprised if they miss out on this Daytona 500. Because here's the thing. Even if they fall out of a transfer spot, they posted a pretty fast lap on Sunday. That could be enough to get them in.
That'd be great. It would just. There's a lot of factors here to consider, but at the same time, he's got a strong run, and right now he's just trying to hold steady in front of Finn guy. But Emma Carter now all by herself on the high side. That's going to allow Hutchinson and Fair to get by.
And look who's right behind them. The two temporary teammates for this race, Bobo Jones and Cale Tescar Jr. They've been nose to tail all race long, and they're making their way to the front. Tescar pushes Jones up into the top 5. But I think they're going to go their separate ways now as they're side-by-side for third.
And Tescar has got to be saying, okay, we've got up here. Now our alliance is over. It's time to fight. Now
it is race time. And we're closing in on 11 laps to go. Lane Sanders running at the back. He's got the fastest lap of a 45.16. An incredible run.
Not at the back anymore. I see him right there.
He's getting a push from Stanley Andrews. That's another new team, Flash United Motorsports. They're trying to make their their one-up debut in the Daytona 500, giving a push to Chris Lattimore in the 13, who's almost gotten his way past Aguo Zhao in the 56. Suddenly, this transfer battle's been blown wide open as Lattimore charges towards the front.
Yeah, this is quite the shuffle here, as we're starting to see faces who've been hanging out in the back finally find their way toward the front, whether they're go or go home or not. This is getting real exciting as Carter has just taken off out front.
And right now, Holloman is in the lead transfer spot in that 9 car. Right now, it is Holloman, Lawson, and Zhao once again. But Chris Lattimore is lurking back there. He's got the middle groove, and he's got a fender under the 56. He's going to make a run at it. It's going to be between Lattimore and Zhao. If Zhao races in, Lattimore is out. But if Lattimore races in, Zhao can still make it on speed.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch as Cale Tescar Jr. here. He's finally saying, I'm here. Watch out.
Yeah, Cale Tescar Jr., he's got possibly the biggest momentum of anybody going into this Speed Weeks. He won the season finale last year at Homestead Miami Speedway, and he's looking to go for back-to-back. He's trying to go for a win in the Duel as well. And after crashing out in the shootout last week, he'd love a shot at redemption here. But we now look back at the transfer spot. Chris Lattimore edges ahead of Aguo Zhao. Lattimore has no other way into the Daytona 500. He has to be in the top 3 of the transfers.
Yeah, this is going to be important for him. If Lattimore can make it in, then nobody can really give him grief about the number of his car being unlucky.
And he would join his teammates as well. The other 2 Team Duke cars are already qualified for the 500. Lattimore's the only one not yet in. And wouldn't it be a downright shame if he's the only one that misses out? But, oh, here comes Lane Sanders to the inside as Hall does a little weaving in front of the 13. Here comes Sanders to the inside. This could be problematic for the 13 because here comes Stanley Andrews in the 24 trying to make an upset run at it.
Yeah, Stanley's trying his hardest right now. And he's probably being told to follow the 87, follow the 87. And He's doing exactly what he needs to do. It's just that lane has not had the momentum with no one else in front of him right now in the immediate vicinity.
We now have 8 laps to go, and everything is still up for grabs in duel number 2. It is Holloman and Lawson. They're well out in front of this battle. They're in a good shape to make the Daytona 500. However, there is still a big question mark surrounding this pack because Chris Lattimore, Iguo Zhao, and Stanley Andrews, and throw in Ali Liara for good measure, they're all battling it out for the final transfer spot. Ali's got to be in the top 3 as well to make it in. Doesn't have much points to fall back on.
Yeah, and what a shame it would be for her to go home empty-handed, but right there in position, so we'll see what happens.
7 laps to go, and the battle up front continues to rage on between Emma Carter and Cale Teskar Jr. Our focus is on the main battle at the midfield, the transfer fight between Andrews, Lattimore, and Zhao. They're all 3 wide for position at about 11th place. They're slicing and dicing through the field. It looks like that's Lane Sanders trying to jump up to the high groove, push Nick Ortiz along. And at this point in time, anything's still possible. As Andrews noses ahead, could we see another upset make the 500?
It's looking that way right now, and it's getting pretty dicey. And you see Liera there trying to make a move as well, but I don't know what to say right now except that we're in for a good finish here.
Absolutely, this is going to be a thriller in the final 6 laps of duel number 2. Stanley Andrews, a rookie. He's never made a start in one-up competition in his life. Just like that team, Flash United Motorsports. They've never made a start in one-up competition. It would be a debut for both of them, and wouldn't it be spectacular if it came in the Daytona 500 of all races. But right now, we're going back to the front of the field battle. Emma Carter is holding her own in front of Cale Teskar Jr., but here they are, the two temporary teammates back together once again. It is this time Bobo Jones pushing Cale Teskar Jr. towards the lead as we close in on 5 to go.
Yeah, but it seems like even that potent duo can't do much with Emma Carter with that strong number 70 she's got. But we'll see.
And remember, Bobo Jones has won a race here before. He won the Daytona 500, in fact, back in 2020. He knows how to win on these high banks, and he's looking to do it again, even if it means turning on Cale Teskar Jr. in the final few laps. He might wait until the very end to do it, but that is an option should he need it. But the front of the field right now, Emma Carter continues to lead. Coming to 4 laps to go. Boy, would this be a big win for that 70 group.
It would be a huge morale booster after the way their 2022 went. And, well, there's a lot of teams out here that would love to have a morale booster after how last year went. But right now, Emma Carter's sitting pretty.
With 4 laps to go in duel number 2, Cale Teskar Jr. noses out ahead of Hutchinson. Hutchinson's been at the front all night long, despite the risk that if he crashes out of this race in the final few laps, he's going to have to go to a backup and drop to the rear of the field. So he's playing a risky game here, but if he can make it work, it could pay big dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. Risk versus reward. Sometimes the risk is worth it. Other times it's not. Right now, it's worth it for Hutchinson. We saw it pay off for Monaco in the first duel. So we'll see how this plays out.
3 laps to go, and now Hutchinson is clear of Teskar for second. Teskar moves up in front of Devin Fair to block the run. Then he pulls back down in front of Bobo Jones. Those two have been glued together all night long.
Here comes Hutchinson.
Here he comes, Justin Hutchinson in the Fidelity Ford, trying to make a run at the lead. Teskar swoops down. He's going to try and make it 3 wide going into turn 3.
Yeah, his attempt to go 3 wide's kind of allowed the 70 to stay out in front, but this is going to get interesting. And unfortunately, it looks like Carter's going to be left high and dry if things play out against her.
They're banging doors, the 02 and the 10 are. These two were battling for the regular season championship a year ago. Now they're battling for the win in duel number 2 as we have 2 laps to go.
And Fair's caught up behind Carter, but he keeps bouncing between the 10 and the 70, so I don't know how this is going to play out, but it's looking pretty good right now for Teskar.
We've seen that happen before with Ryan Caggiano in the Nitro National Series. Buddy, if you're watching from home, I hope you've been enjoying the show, because this has been an absolute thrill ride of a second duel race. We're coming to the white flag this time. There's still 3 wide for the lead. We still don't know who's going to win it, and we still don't know who's going to make the transfer as we come to 1 lap to go.
Talking about that transfer, first of all, shout out to Lane Sanders being right there in front of that transfer battle, but Zhao right there, he's still fighting hard.
And Chris Lattimore's dropped back a ways. He's now stuck behind Finn Guy in the 92. His hopes of making the 500 are starting to fade. But coming through 1 and 2 for the final time, Teskar finally noses out ahead of Hutchinson. He's got Bobo Jones right behind him. It's going to be a big battle for the win as Jones and Teskar, they've been working together all night long. Will it pay off as we head into 3 and 4 for the final time?
Yeah, this is looking pretty good. Hutchinson and Teskar side by side while they're still 3 wide for third behind them.
Off of turn 4 for the final time. Once again, it's going to be a drag race to the finish line. Looks like Hutchinson's going to get an edge out, and Justin Hutchinson wins duel number 2. So he will cement his second place starting spot in the Daytona 500. But Austin Holloman did what he needed to do. He's raced his way into the Daytona 500.
Good job.
Jonathan Lawson right behind. He doesn't have to rely on his speed. He's made the 500. And how about the biggest upset of the night? Stanley Andrews and Flash United Motorsports have locked themselves into the Daytona 500 on speed. Racing their way in for the duels, I should say. Now, looking at Guo Zhao right behind him. He finished right behind him 13th by the slimmest of margins. But he too will race in the Daytona 500. He was fast enough on pole day to make the 500. But sadly, that means for Chris Lattimore, for Ali Liara, Juan Diaz, Jason Parker, Cam Cole, they're all going home at the end of 30 laps of racing here today. But we've seen a lot of things happen in these dual races. We've seen some very deserving drivers go to victory lane, and we've seen some real upsets make the 500. Look no further than this 24 to see that.
Exactly. I was going to say, huge congratulations to Stanley Andrews and that whole team. And you mentioned about drivers that didn't make it, and I just feel like Cam Cole's got to be thinking, what could we have done differently to ensure that we had a shot? But there's always other races to make an attempt at. Liara, same situation, but they can still have fun watching the race even if they don't get to be a part of it.
Daytona can break hearts sometimes, and it's certainly done that here tonight for 12 drivers who know their hopes of making the Daytona 500 have just gone up in smoke. Well, next time we see you guys, it'll be for the Daytona 500 next Sunday. 60 laps of racing action. We hope you'll join us for that, because it's going to be an absolute blast to bring it to you live. So from James Ellison and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Daytona International Speedway. Congrats to all the drivers who made the Daytona 500, and to our dual winners, JQ Halleck and Justin Hutchinson. Look forward to the Daytona 500. It's going to be absolutely epic.